All right, so it's hard not to worry about outliving your money in retirement. But here's a few tips you can take about managing your nest egg that just might help you out a little bit. The first thing is to go ahead and be realistic about what you're going to spend in retirement. And what I mean by that is get a budget. And on that budget, of course, you're going to take your mortgage, your rent, your utilities, your taxes, things like that. And you're going to figure out what your built-in expenses are. And then you've got to get a little creative and you've got to figure out what you want your lifestyle to look like. Yeah, you got to figure out what it's going to look like, because when you're working, that's a totally different budget than when you're retired. Okay, so I do have a budget worksheet on my website, and if you go down in the description, there's a link to my website, doubletretire.com. And you can go ahead, it's free, you don't have to sign up for anything, no newsletter, no nothing, and you can download that Excel spreadsheet and go ahead and use it. Okay, so for number 2, let's look at ways to go ahead and reduce our spending. And to reduce our spending, number 1, we can downsize if we need to, right? If we're renting, we can downsize into a smaller apartment that you may not need if you have extra space. If you actually are paying a mortgage, you could look at using the equity in your house to downsize into a house and pay cash for it, potentially. And those are ways that you can go ahead and downsize. Another way is insurance. We all know how much insurance is costing right now, and it is expensive. Yes, it is. I know we're hemorrhaging from insurance. We just had to have everything redone because our insurance went up $500 a month. Not our health insurance, that was our automotive and our home insurance, $500 a month. So we had to go through and get another carrier, and our insurance agent, she's just a doll. She did a great job and got it back down to about where it was. It's about, $50 a month more, but that's a whole lot better than $500. All right, another thing you always want to do, it's just a good idea, is pay off any of that high interest credit card debt that you have. Okay, credit card debt can kill you. So go ahead, get your credit cards paid off. That'll help a bunch, and you need to work on that right away. Another thing that gets many of us are these subscription services, streaming services, music services, things like that, Sirius XM, Paramount Plus. Now we do have quite a few of those, but we went through and we've cut back on the ones that we really don't use. And here's a tip: if you got Sirius XM and you like it, call them once a year. When that bill goes up, give them a call and say, hey, I'm going to cancel. And you know what? They'll have some kind of promotion they're running, and they'll knock it right back down to where it was. So if you got Sirius XM and if you're paying full price for it, call them and tell them you're going to cancel and see if they have a better deal. And you also want to be careful when you go into retirement about digging yourself into a hole, because you may have a big pile of money that's coming in from your 401ks, and you're cashing all that out and turning it into an individual retirement account. And you may look at that and say, wow, I've got a pretty good chunk of money. I'm going to go ahead and buy that boat I always wanted, or I'm going to buy that RV that we've been talking about getting. Be careful. Don't dig yourself into a hole. Don't buy boats, RVs, retirement homes. You may be able to, but if you do, make sure you know what you're doing and make sure that you have a retirement plan and it isn't going to affect you down the line. And I do want to tell you, I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional. So go ahead and seek out a fiduciary, fee-only financial advisor to build a retirement plan just for you. And those people, they can help talk you off the ledge too, because when the market goes bad and you're wanting to sell off everything and just stick your money in a mattress, they're the ones who can help calm you down a little bit and tell you, hey, it's going to be all right. Let's take another look at this and see where we're at. And they can set you up a bucket system and just do everything for you. Okay, number 3 is figuring out the correct withdrawal rate. And what I mean by that is, you can use the 4% rule, and that's a great rule, but it can many times cause you to have to work longer than you really need to, because your spending is not going to be linear throughout your lifetime. And most of us break it up into 3 different categories. We got our go-go years, which is our, younger 60s to mid 70s, our slow-go years, which is 75 to normally 85, and our no-go years, which is 85 and up. And the spending kind of goes in a smile, in a curved smile. You're going to spend more in your go-go years normally because you can travel, you can do more, you have a lot more activities. Then in your slow-go years, you're going to slow down on a bunch of that. Your bucket list should hopefully already be taken care of. And, you're not spending as much money. And then in your no-go years, that's when your health items really kick in, and you're going to spend quite a bit more on health care and long-term health care. So anyway, make sure you get the right withdrawal rate that will ride you through your full retirement. And again, your financial advisor can help you out with that. So don't always just pick out the 4% and go with that, because, that might not be the right way to go. And if you're retiring a little early like I did, I can't really live on 4% of my nest egg right now. I had to bump that up a few percent, until I get on Social Security when I'm 65. So, you've got to take a look at things like that and see what you can do if you want to retire a little earlier. And here's number 4. If you haven't retired yet, you can play catch up if you're over 50. All right, so you can play catch up with your IRA. It's not quite as much, but you can do a lot of catch up if you have a 401k or 403b. And you can add additional funds over what the government would generally let you put in. So take a look at that. Take a look at playing catch up and try to get that nest egg built up a little higher before you retire. And remember, it's not enough just to save money. You have to invest it. You have to beat inflation, and you have to get compounding working for you. And over the past couple of years, that compounding has been pretty good. All right, number 5 is Social Security. Okay, I know that's a hot button topic about whether to take it at 62 or whether to wait till 67 full retirement age, or to wait till 70. And there's good and bad depending on how you want to look at it. But what I would say is look at your family history, look at your longevity, your current health, and your investments, and see where you're at. If you don't need the Social Security, like I have a neighbor who's been taking, he's almost 75 now, and he's been taking his Social Security checks and just been putting them into a savings account and doing really well. He's still working part-time. He's my hero. This guy is great at 75 years old, sharp as a tack. Anyway, take a look at whether you need to take it, because between the ages of 62 and 67, if that's your full retirement age, you gain about 6% a year that you don't take it. And I know you're losing a year of your life, right? Your life expectancy is shortening every year. But what that can do is, if you don't need it, is it will raise your income later on. And I know that you got to really think through this and maybe talk to your financial advisor and do a bunch of research, because a lot of people, and I don't disagree, that you can take it at 62 and use that money and go ahead and let your nest egg build and let the compounding interest take over. And that might be a lot better strategy for you. It all depends on what's going to help you sleep better at night, right? That's what it comes down to me anyway, is how am I going to sleep better at night? Am I going to sleep better knowing that I've got pretty much everything taken care of if I wait a few years until I'm like 65, or if I go ahead and cash out and start taking it at 62? Very personal decision. But go ahead and do your research on that one. All right, number 6 is rebalancing or reinvesting our asset allocation, right? So when you're younger, when you're in your 20s and 30s and even in your 40s, time is on your side. So as you invest, you may be in an 80-20 portfolio. And if you don't rebalance that, it's going to end up being a 90-10 and then pretty much going to all be in stocks. And when you're younger, that's not such a bad thing. But when you get to be older, when you get near retirement, you don't want to take that much risk with your nest egg. I personally, I'm in a 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, and I sleep good at night with that. But remember, it's if you don't rebalance, over time, the stocks are going to outperform the bonds, and your portfolio is just going to keep getting lopsided. It's going to go from a 60-40 to a 70-30 to an 80-20. So, and you've got to rebalance that and make sure you keep it in check, because when the stock market does go through one of these big downturns, you want to make sure that you're not going to lose too much of your nest egg, because at that point in time, you're going to be withdrawing funds out of it. So it's kind of a double dip. You're going to be taking funds out and the market's dropping, and it hurts pretty bad. So go ahead and make sure you're rebalancing that portfolio every once in a while. All right, and the seventh thing, and I'm not sure there's a lot you can do about this, but it's healthcare costs. And you need to go ahead and make sure that your healthcare costs are put into your budget. And just kind of a rule of thumb when you're setting up your budget, if you're single, you're going to spend about 150. Now this is from the time you're 65. From 65 to end of life, you're going to spend in an average of $157,500 on healthcare costs. If you're a couple, it's going to be about $315,000 in healthcare costs. So when you're setting up your budget, make sure you've got some of that set up. Like what I do personally is I've got all of my premiums taken out that I figure it's going to cost for healthcare. Then I go ahead and add in my full, what do they call it? My full deductible. I go ahead and take that all out. So it's like $5,000 a year. So I put that in my budget as if I were to use all of my deductible. And then I go ahead and put in for my prescriptions and all that sort of thing. And go ahead and budget your medical health care costs, because otherwise that could really ding you down the line if you don't have enough in there, and it could make you go broke. Number 8 is get a little side hustle going. I'm telling you, $10,000 a year, something like that can make a big difference in how much you spend down your nest egg over the years. And of course, obviously, you won't be able to have that side hustle into your 80s. But if you can take care of that nest egg through your younger years, that sounds so weird when I'm 61, younger. If I can take care of that nest egg through my younger years, it's really going to help out later on when I get older and I can't do that. So some side hustles you can do is you can do, pet sitting. You can take in a foreign exchange student. You can have a YouTube channel. Although it does take a while for this YouTube channel to start actually paying, but there are several different ways. You can get a part-time job for the first few years doing something you enjoy. Maybe, working for the National Park Service, working for the local zoo. Something like that you would enjoy getting up and going to work. So I hope you've gotten some value out of this video, and if you have, please reach down and hit that like button and watch this video next.